Apparently, you can get an iPhone 14 Pro for like, I don't know. All you have to do is pay the activation fee, and then you pay the data plan.
Sounds like a scam to me.
It probably is. Anytime I'm getting a deal, I know I'm getting scammed. But I am definitely a what's that word?
Lame?
No, not lame.
Cheap? What is it?
What is that word?
What are you trying to say? That doesn't need new things? Blessed?
No, that's just always giving in to the scam.
Oh, a sucker.
The sucker, yeah. Always. They'd be like, yo, you can get 3 of these. You buy 5 of these, you get 1 free.
No way.
Matter of fact, let me get 11. Let me get 12.
Keep the change. Nah, one of my best friends. Hey, Cordell, I'm talking about you. This man, he is like, you know how they try to upcharge you like at the counter and stuff? He's those people's dreams, man. Cordell get upcharged on everything, man.
That's funny.
Blows my mind.
It's like, did you know you can get nice. 2 of these for $25?
And they're originally $2?
I'm like, really? But I do, and I think that's because because I sell for a living, and I kind of get it. And I'm like, you know what? I appreciate the effort there, and
that's fair. That's
know?
fair. I'm not mad at that. That's fair. That's fair for sure.
When I told you about this Breathin to Death song, you said it doesn't belong. You feel like it doesn't belong on the playlist.
It's just such a weird. It's a different vibe. It's just such a whole.
It is
different
very
vibe.
different. It is.
But I like the song. I mean, hey, I'm Team Lecrae all the way, so I'm not mad it's on here. But when I saw it, I was like, Breathin to Death? And it was like right after like a really slow song too. And I was like, there's no way. Like it was like all emotional. Help me, Lord, before this. And I was like, whoa. But that's what's up, man. That's what's up.
I was just trying to improve the diversity there. Actually, no, you know Gunner, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, my good friend here in Greenville. Shout out to Gunner out in Hong Kong doing his thing. He sent me this song and I played it and I was like, my goodness,
Boy,
like
spitting.
Yeah, I'm like, Lecrae is rapping. He's rapping right here.
Rapping.
He is rapping. Like I don't even know how to explain it. And
yeah,
it probably doesn't go with the vibe. Like it's not that lo-fi, like Kid Cudi humming type music. It's just straight raw to the core and everything. But I think what stuck out to me was just the context of it and the content. And maybe when you listen to a song at the right time or whatever, and it hits just a little bit different.
Yeah.
I think maybe that was that moment where I heard the song and I was like, wow.
How long ago? Like, when did you hear it?
It was like right before Gunner moved. So
recently?
Yeah, it's like maybe 2 months ago. Because when did this song come out, do you know?
This song?
Yeah. It's old.
Like 2004.
2004? How long Lecrae been rapping?
Okay, maybe he's not that old. Let me check. This is like the first album I ever heard from this man.
Yeah, because I'm not really, I don't really know the,
It's definitely not. I'm tripping. It can't be 2004.
Background of a lot of
2008.
2008.
That's 4 years.
4 years. That's not bad.
Yeah.
That's pretty close. That's a long time ago. So was this early Lecrae?
Yeah.
Okay. When did do you know when he started, gaining traction and becoming, I guess a Christian hip hop star?
I guess it depends on how big traction is, like how much traction counts as that. Because I think this album he was kind of the first one to really be putting out Christian music that was like not lame. Okay. You know what I mean? At least that I knew. Like he was like, oh snap, like there's no way. So I would honestly say like around like this album or maybe right before what did he put out? Real Talk, I think was the name of the album, where people were like, oh, okay, like you can talk about Jesus and not be lame. All right, bet.
Yeah.
But he definitely is a start. Yeah,
because I think that's what stuck out to me is it's just so raw and real. And I think he says a lot in the song. And it's just bar after bar after bar.
Yeah.
Where he is just being so real and honest about his feelings. And I mean, the only Lecrae is like the biggest name in Christian hip hop, I would say. Again, I don't really know too much about that space a lot. I'm just learning a lot as I go. But just to hear all the things that he's saying and that you probably wouldn't normally hear people admit and say, and somebody with this kind of clout or with this kind of audience, and to be able just to admit those things, I was like, that's real. Like a lot of the things that he's saying on here, I mean, literally just breathing to death, and he just feels like he's not saved. He feels like he's rejecting God, and he wants to do all these things that the devil's tempting him to do, and that's it was like, this is explaining my relationship to the Lord, especially in these past couple of weeks, to the T. Yeah.
It's a hard place to do, or a hard place to be, to say that and know people are listening.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that.
Yeah.
Because I mean, even now we're doing this, but it's like, I mean, we don't really have people, like a ton of people listening, so it's just kind of like, there's still some type of safety where it's like, I say something crazy, it is what it is. But like to have a following and be that transparent with people who probably think you're up here, like that takes a lot of humility and a lot of strength too, to be able to do that.
Yeah. And most of the people listening know us, or know me, or know
like,
you. So
you're going to see me like later.
Yeah. So they can see things and understand and be like, oh yeah, I know where he's coming from on that. Yeah. Whereas like probably there's millions of people listening to Lecrae, and they might start to form their own judgments and on all of this stuff because they don't really have the full context of that he might be going through. And I think it's cool because we're talking about it now, and this is a song that's helped me feel not alone. And I think that's what's so cool about music is you start to form like these weird, relationships with the artists that aren't even like, I guess, real in a personal way. Like, it's not like they're your friend or them or you can call them, but you can hear people's emotions through their music and through their voice, and if they're actually feeling it or not, and what they're talking about. And that's why we all grow to love these people. Or, I mean, I think about, like I was a big Mac Miller fan growing up and loved his music, and I could relate to him. I'm like, dude, this guy is just, he's just saying a lot of things that people won't say. And then I know when he passed away and he died, I was like hurt. I was like, dang, I was like sad. And I'm like, I didn't even know him. Yeah. But I felt like I knew him through his music. Yeah. And that's what's so cool about it. And just being able to see that. And even now with social media, you feel like you're a part of these people's lives, which, maybe you're not, maybe you are, maybe you're not. And I think, it's something where him saying all these things, and I feel like sometimes I'm so raw and real with my emotions to other people, and it can seem like, oh, maybe he's not trusting God, or maybe he's rejecting God, or all these things, when it's like, no, this is just how I feel, and I'm just being real with my emotions, and I feel like that's what Lecrae's doing in this song.
Yeah. So you're saying that you more relate with the actual person based off of the things that they are saying more than like relating with the songs themselves?
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
That's really, really cool. I feel like that puts it in a special place, like to where, because you said you didn't feel, it made you not feel alone. I was like, oh, like, because someone else has also gone through it, and like hearing that on that scale. Yeah. I see. No, that's what's up. And then you're right about the, just like, at least with like the pain, even with like Mac Miller, or like that level of like, dang, I really feel like I know him, and you know that you don't, but just knowing that like, but like I see this and I hear him, and it's like, it's almost like role models, you know what I mean? And I think about like, people say that in songs all the time with like TV shows and stuff, like people having like the people who they look up to. And I think that's just back to even why we wanted to do this. It's such a powerful thing, not just the words of the songs that we're listening to, and not just the message it's getting, but even the people behind who they're saying. Like I even just like, I remember back in the day, like struggling a lot with like, oh, like, are you supposed to have tattoos as like a Christian or not? And it'd be so cool being able to see someone who has like all these tattoos and know the scripture, or like have like earrings and like really be like fundamentally sound. Just like breaking the status quo of what we might assume people will be based off of their looks or their actions or whatever, and just be like, oh no, these people still are rocking with Jesus, like for real. So yeah, I think it's kind of cool just to see that, especially with like Lecrae, bro, like, because he really is raw on all the stuff he does. Well, and I don't really listen to him as much as I do, or I used to, but like you go through and it's just kind of like, there's no way someone is saying this right now, or that people are actually talking about this, like, because we filter as Christians like so much. It's like, I should probably, like, I know I struggle with that, and I know every other male around me struggle with that, but I'm not gonna talk about it, because why would I do that? And it's like, because we need it, but it's like there's so many things that we're just kind of like, I'm not gonna cross that line, even though we know we need it, just because it's like the status quo. You don't do that. And it's cool because I feel like with music, people just don't care. They're just kind of like, no, I'm going to talk about what I want to, because this is my outlet. This is what I need. So I think it's cool to go through this stuff and just be like, dang, that raw emotion, you can't really find anywhere else, unless if you truly do know someone like face to face, you know, almost if you're like a safe space for someone. So it's cool just seeing artists be a safe space for millions of people on the internet.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense, but.
No, for sure. And even as Christians, we try to, going back to what you're saying, we always have filters. Like we always try to sugarcoat our sin. And, you know, we might be able to sugarcoat it to other people or not make it sound as bad when it's like, it is what it is, you know, at the end of the day. And that's the truth. And just the way that he's able to articulate how he's feeling in this song, like it's so lyrical, which that's what I love about it too. Like I enjoy when people are really lyrical and are able to break things down in the way that he's breaking it down, because it's just speaking for you and speaking for your emotions. Like something that I think I struggle with is this feeling not, what's the word? Just not feeling like I'm not able to articulate that well or being able to describe my emotions, and just feeling incapable or like unintelligent. There's a word that I can't think of, and I'm trying to describe it, but he's able to be like, this is how I feel. And I was thinking about this episode. I'm like, I don't even know what there is to talk about, because Lecrae pretty much, if you just go listen to the song, like he does all the talking for you.
Everything. That's funny. Dang. Well, so because you talked through it, you were like this. When you said which song you wanted to do, you very instantaneously were like, oh no, this is what I feel throughout the week. Yeah. So has that just been like a? Because I mean, it's a heavy song.
It's very
you know what
heavy.
I mean?
It's dark. Man.
Yeah,
it's dark.
Because when you said that, I was like, oh man, like I hope he's good. You know, so like, is it more just like the idea of like him just trying to overcome like all the things that he feels like is killing him and like giving him life that you've been relating with this week, or has it been more just kind of like the actual ins and outs of like all the lyrics he's talking about? Because he's just kind of like dying, you know what I mean? Like the whole song, he's just kind of like, I feel this way and I feel this way and I don't understand. God help me. You know, like I feel like I'm doing this and I'm doing that and I know your life, but I feel like I'm breathing to death. Like help me. Like, and it's like a battle back and forth and back and forth. So like, is that been like on a life aspect for you this week, or like on a spiritual aspect, or?
Yeah, it's been on a life and spiritual aspect, like the ins and outs of this song. It's just been a heavy past couple of weeks, and I'm not sure. I mean, I think I know what's triggering it, and I'm not really going to get too deep into that. But it's been tough, and it feels like I've been in this boxing ring with Satan, just like getting haymakers just thrown at me, and I feel like I'm in this loop of just where I'm like I'm trying. I'm putting one foot in step in front of the other, like I'm crying out to the Lord. I'm crying out to other people in my life, and it's been very, very challenging. And I just feel like I'm continuing to get like I'm on edge, and I'm in places where or having feelings inside that I don't really want to feel. Yeah, and I feel like I almost don't believe that God is enough. I even was just like praying about that or journaling about that the other day. I'm like, God, I really don't know if I believe that you're enough. Like I want to believe that you're enough, and I pray that you are enough, but I'm really just not right there. I'm just not there right now. Yeah. And what I think about that in this song too, because it made me feel like okay to admit that when I hear, things like that Lecrae is saying. Because I don't think that's something where God's like, what? You don't believe I'm enough? Like, are you kidding me? Yeah. It's just like, my yoke is easy, my burden is light. It's like, come on. And it's been tough because I feel so cynical in moments where, and I tread lightly when I say this because I love my people so much and I know all they're trying to do is just care for my soul. But I feel like I've been, on edge or maybe a little bit guarded around my Christian community, because I feel like the admitting how I feel is going to be like, well, you just need to trust God, or you just need to do this, and I'm like, I'm trying like all of those things, and I'm in this loop of trusting and rejecting and trusting and rejecting, and it's like it's been mentally exhausting. And when you were like, do you want to do 2 episodes, and I'm like, I think we need to do 2 episodes today, but I don't know if I can, man. I really don't know if I can. And I'm just trying to, and I know that, God has been working in all of it. And he's been putting the people around me just to pray and just to be open with. Because I think that's what's been cool about this time is like, it's been very, very dark, but I haven't been hiding from it. I've been pretty open about it.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I said a lot.
No, you're good though. It's just like it hit home a little bit too, because I not even can't even honestly, even the last episode we had, I remember just the same thing. We're like, oh, we need to do 2, and I was like, I don't have the strength, you know. And it's crazy because I think about things like that, like just trying to be honest with God and just being like, hey, I don't have this faith that I'm reading out in the Bible right now. Like I'm like, I know you're great. I know you can, but I don't believe that you will for me, you know. It's almost like sometimes that I feel. And I think it's scary to tell God that, because there's like the level of, man, I know you love me and I know that you want me and I know that you're going to care for me. But also there's like the level of like, you're God, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you can do anything. You have the power to do anything. So I know there's a reason you're not, but it's like, I don't want to disrespect God, you know, like it's just, it is a battle, because it's almost like, I don't know, you can tell me if this is crazy, but at least for me, whenever I feel that, let me see how to say it, not be just outright blasphemous. It's so evident that I'm the issue when I feel those things, because I'm like, all right, well, God, I see what you're doing for others. I see the Bible. I believe the Bible. I believe everything you're saying is true, which means that if I'm struggling, or that if I can't feel you, if I can't hear you or whatever, like that's on me. You know what I mean? Like, it's like you say that if the Bible says I knock, you'll answer, and I'm knocking and you're not answering, then I'm doing something wrong. I must be knocking on the wrong door or something, you know, because it's like, you're not going to contradict yourself. So I think that just those times where it's just kind of like, all you feel like is like the world is literally taking you in, and all you know how to do is cry out to God, but you still feel somewhat alone. Like, I think that's such a scary place to be in. And I almost feel like those always are the beginning of something amazing, but it's just like in that moment, you're just kind of like, what the heck am I supposed to do? How the heck am I supposed to turn? Like, how do I flow through that? But it's really cool to hear that you're saying that, like, you're open with God about that, you know? Because I feel like that's what he wants. I feel like he wants us to struggle and know that we're not enough. And I don't know, I feel like, at least like with this song, when I was listening to it yesterday on the way to Duran's place, like I think I felt that a lot. Like, it was just kind of like, I don't think I had ever thought about it in the sense of like, all he's doing is calling for help in his whole life. Like, I always would hear it like help me, Lord, before there's no time left. More just kind of like, hey, I know I need you. Like, one day I won't have time left, so like help me while I'm still here. But really, he's just saying like, no, I think that like I'm already there at no time left, and like I need you today, right now, like this instant. And I think that's a really healthy place to be in, to be able to like call on God like in that moment, you know, versus like, all right, I'm gonna do whatever, come back and then ask God to help me out of that way. Like, to be able to sit there in real time and be like, no, God, I know I need you, and I'm going to ask, and I'm going to ask my friends, and I'm going to ask the people around me. It's a hard thing, but I think it's the most important thing we can do as Christians.
Yeah. And it's because it's not even like that he's not doing anything. It's like he's giving us what we need, but we just can't see it because he's not giving us what we want, or he's not giving me what I want. And that's what you were saying. Like, it's a me issue, because I'm expecting one thing and he's like, nah, I'm gonna give you this, but you can't see it because you're so focused on this.
No, I think you're right. Well, but how do you deal with that? Like, how do you tell people, like, somebody's coming up to you and just like, hey, bro, I just don't have faith right now. Like, I don't have the faith that I need to do this. Like, I don't know if God is going to be able to help me. I don't know if he's going to be enough to get me through this. Like, without just being like, yeah, well, he is, you know? How do you communicate that to someone? How do you give someone encouragement in that time? Someone who genuinely is just kind of like, I don't think God's going to do it. I don't think he can do it. I don't think he will do it. I don't think he loves me enough to do it, you know? Yeah. Like, what do you say to those people?
Yeah. You probably do like the classic Christian thing. You just answer their question with the question and, you know, just be like, what is it that you want him to do? Like, what is it that you're looking for? And try to figure out the core, try to get down to it and kind of see where that's coming from. Because it's like, if you figure out, you know, why you don't have faith or whatever it is that you're focused on, maybe you feel like you're not providing, or maybe you feel like something in your life is not, you're having relational issues, or you feel like you're doing all the right things. You're like, oh, well, you know, I'm serving in church. I'm, you know, ministering to this person. I am giving up my time. I'm doing my quiet time. I'm praying, and I'm doing all of these different things. And still not any answers. It's kind of just like, what are your expectations? And just trying to figure it out through that, and just processing that with them. I feel like sometimes we try to have answers for everything, and we don't. Like that's what God is there for, and that's what where faith comes in. And I know it's probably not the answer that people want to hear, and I'm always hearing the answers that I don't want to hear, which is why sometimes I just choose not to say something, because I think getting corrected is something, or hearing what I don't want to hear when I need to hear it is. I hate that. I really do. I'm like, man, I really don't want to go to this person because I know exactly what they're going to tell me. And that's not what I want to hear. I want to hear I want somebody to affirm how I'm feeling. Mm-hmm. And they're not going to do that because they know that that's not, that's not going to help me. Yeah. So, I mean, I think just going and just processing with them, and just sometimes there's nothing to say, man. There's nothing to say. I don't know.
What about just like feelings versus faith? Because you just said something about that, like affirm how you're feeling. Like at what point do you think that you not ignore your feelings, but just like how do you manage faith and feelings? Because I think sometimes a lot of people are like, oh, I just, at least even me, I want to feel God's presence. I want to know that he's there. And then sometimes it is just like having faith and knowing that like, oh no, he is there regardless if you feel him or not. So even when it's the opposite with like bad feelings and hurt and things like that, like at what point do you I don't know how to word the question, but like at what point do you actually use those things that you're feeling from God to, do you see what I'm asking? I don't know how, I think I'm asking it wrong, but just like sometimes in faith, we're like, oh, I don't feel God. And that makes us feel like we're far away from him. But in reality, the feelings have nothing to do with it. It's the faith aspect. So like when it's the opposite and it's like, I'm in pain or I'm struggling and I feel bad, like how much should we let that affect our walk with God? Because really you could feel awful and you're still as close to God as if you feel great. You know what I mean? So like how much do you think we should let that affect, like our feelings affect our faith, or do you think we shouldn't, like at all?
It's a good question. You always ask me good questions. No, that's a tough one, because I mean, and I can only speak from my point of view, and just based off of the experience that I've had in my walk with the Lord and just in life in general. And I think sometimes I've let my feelings dictate my actions. And I know when my feelings dictate my actions, that it's usually not leading to something healthy, or it leads to a result that I thought was going to be a lot better than what it actually is. Yeah. Whereas if I just let faith dictate it and let God handle it step by step and just walking along with them, there's usually that produces, I would say, more fruit than just following my feelings. Or sometimes, there's something where God will humble me, and it'll be like a growth. And I think I'm trying to answer it maybe in like from 3 different angles, but I think just if I try to let my feelings dictate my actions, then because the heart is very deceitful, and I feel like this stuff always comes up because I was I've been reading Matthew in my Bible study, and it talks about how from where the heart, like from what's inside, is what defiles us, and from the heart is what comes all of these different bad things. I can't really remember off the top of my head. And
I was literally thinking about it today. I don't know what here. I was like, out of the abundance of the heart, like the mouth speak, like all that stuff. Like that's crazy. You said that. Sorry, I just had to. That was just wild. Like I was
on
like
the same wavelength.
Yeah, that's wild. Go ahead.
Yeah, but I mean, I was kind of wrapping up, but just from your heart, and that's where your feelings, I feel like, come from. Yeah. And if you're letting that dictate it, then it's probably not going to lead to. It's not going to lead to a place that it might feel like, oh, well, if I do these things, I know I'm going to feel this. Yeah. And then you do those things, and you're like, dang, that's not what I was expecting. Yeah. I don't think it ever really works out that way.
Yeah, which is just garbage, because we're taught the opposite in life. We're kind of just like, follow your heart, do your dream, whatever, and it's just literally the opposite. And it's honestly kind of crazy how life works like that with everything. Like it's almost like everything we're taught is killing us. Like it's absolutely killing us. The things that we're told to look for, the things we're told to search for and pursue, it's just not good for us half the time. And I don't know if you can really know that without having some either like, having Jesus or having something around that's, someone to be here and tell us, like, actually, like how you're saying, someone who's not going to affirm us, but just be like, no, like, I know you don't see it right now, but this is the opposite of what you need. You're just killing yourself even more. And it's like, you're kind of like how the song was saying, like, you're slowly breathing to death. You're going further and further away from that. But the only thing that sucks is that you don't even see it. You don't even know it. And that's just a really, 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 really scary place to be as people. And I think sometimes for me, I forget how small I am. I forget how like little I know, and like how not useless, but just like how fragile I am, And I think God reminds me by giving me reality checks a lot. Yeah. But it's like, especially with just like, I think he's blessed me to be able to like pick up new things fairly quickly. So I try a lot of new things and I think I get good at them. And it's like, that brings pride in me. And it's like, God just really quickly thought, was like, no, you can't do that. I'm going to stop that. And then it's like, oh, now I'm upset because, God's taking something away, or God's taking a person away, or God's taking a job away, or God's taking I don't know, he's taking an ability away. And then it's just kind of like, oh, now God, you must not love me, because why would you give me this and take it away? Why would you show me this and then not give it to me? But it's like, we're almost causing it ourselves in the very beginning, just because of our mindset, because of how we're searching for it, how we're going for it. And I think the song actually does really, really good about this, because the line that says, I'm on a selfish island and I am nowhere near you. God, I really need you, even though I don't appear to. I'm drinking out a broken cistern that could never hold water, and I'm going to get burned. Though I try, I never satisfy or quench this yearn. I hear you calling, and it's a fight for me to just turn. Lord, I deserve to burn. Like, I think that's kind of crazy, because the drinking out of a broken cistern is just kind of like, sometimes it's literally what it feels like I'm doing. Like, it's like I am trying so hard to get water, and it feels like it's the living water. Like, it feels like it's Jesus, but it's not. And I'm trying so hard to get full, but it's like, I don't even realize that I'm not getting any water. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't even click in my mind that I'm not even touching the water. Like, I'm literally just like gasping, and I'm wasting even more energy trying to get full, but it's draining me. And it's like, I'm about to get burned and I don't even know. But what's crazy is like, I deserve to get burned, And it's just kind of like, Jesus is up there like, bro, you're already there. You're already on the path there. I'm trying to help you, but you don't even know. Like, it's like you can't even see that the exact thing you're trying to do to escape me is the thing that you're like, you can't escape me and burning. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, you got to choose one, because they're like on the opposite sides. So it's just, it's really just convicting, because it's like you can be in that level of like, I feel this, God, but my emotion says this, but my heart says this, but like, this is what I feel like I need. And he's just kind of like, I don't really care what you feel. Like, I know what you need. And until you're willing to like deny your feelings, deny your expectations, deny your pride, your everything, like, you're never going to get what you actually like need. Like, what I can actually help you. You're going to be too concerned about what feels good or what feels right. So rambling.
Yeah, well, we forget though. It's like, we forget that Jesus, or at least I forget that Jesus felt everything that we're feeling now or before or whenever. And he was in the woods for 40 nights or 40 days, getting tempted in every single way by the devil. Yeah. And so it's like, he's felt every single thing that that we're feeling. Yeah. And and it's funny because it's like turning, as he even goes on to say in a different verse just a little bit farther down, I know that I should turn, but that's the hardest thing, because I really feel that having Jesus is a gain. The world is so tempting. Satan is a beast. He hypnotizes my eyes, to say the least. And I've always, when I first started pursuing the Lord, I always had the trouble, and I'm not going to go down that whole theological rabbit hole, but like around the idea of election, and just feeling that like, I'm like, dude, I don't really feel all those things, so I really don't think that.
What do you mean election? What does that mean?
Or like chosen, like before you even born, like chosen as a child of God.
I guess like predestination stuff.
Yeah. There was just some book I read and they called it election, so that's why I called
Oh
it
no,
that.
you're good.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, the president? Like I didn't know. I just had no idea. Sorry. My bad.
Nah, that's funny. But yeah, just always feeling like that I'm not chosen. And then just thinking though too, it's like, well, you know, and now obviously I do believe that because, you know, if the world is so tempting, and he even says, I'd rather eat flies and maggots instead of bread. Like if there's all these things that we'd rather have and go do, or when whatever that is, it's like, why aren't we going to do that?
Yeah.
And I think that's just proof of, you know, if the Holy Spirit, which is the power of Jesus living inside of you, if you have that, then like, that's probably why. Because there's one thing that I was thinking about like why I wouldn't turn to that is because, how can I word this? Like, I hate how I feel after like I sin or fall or separate myself from the Lord than I do. And then I hate that more than how good it does feel to sin or fall, and stuff like that. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of, again, tread lightly when I say these things. And the word I was thinking about earlier before I forget was incompetent.
Oh, okay.
That's the word. But like something I think that a lot of people would agree, and everybody, like majority of people would agree is a good thing. And I think God says this is a good thing in the right context, but something like having sex, right? You know, and if you don't have the Holy Spirit and the power of Jesus like in you, you're probably not going to relate to this. Yeah. But you know, if you're having sex outside of marriage, like after that, I know I would feel worse after, because I know how I sinned against God than how good it felt during. Yeah. And but all of those things are so tempting because you're like, man, this is going to bring me so much satisfaction. This is going to bring me life. This is going to bring me, you know, all of these different things, because there's strong desires in the human nature. And it, like I said, it is a good thing in the right context. Yeah. But you see what I'm saying? No, I don't want to keep going with it, but
no, I do. Yeah. No, you're so right. You're so right. And I'm gonna backtrack and come back too, because with what you said, even with like God getting all the temptations that we have, like I think that has helped me a lot in life, because you kind of think that Jesus didn't think about this or struggle with this, but he did. Like literally everything. He was tempted in every single way that we were. So it's like when you think about like temptations that you almost just feel are like, there's no way God can relate to what I'm saying. So like even if you think about like when you look at like people who like with like same-sex attraction or something, and it's just kind of like God knows what you're feeling, you know, or like people who are like, you know, with sex, like, oh, you are in a relationship that is just not good. Like God knows what you're feeling. Or whether it's like alcohol abuse or substance abuse or whatever, like murder, like, you know, like, or even like you think about people who are just like in a really rough place. Like I remember like the stories of like people who like come out about like struggling with like being like a pedophile, never touched a kid or something, but just like have that desire, like to be able to stop and think like God knows what you're feeling, the exact feeling, I think is so welcoming. Like it's not welcome, that's a bad word, but it's very like comforting. Just even when you're saying like seeing Lecrae being like, oh, I'm not alone, you know, like just to know that God felt that is kind of crazy. To be like, oh no, he knows how good that would feel. He knows how amazing that would make you feel, like worldly, but still with that, he knows that Jesus is better. I think that's crazy. But yeah, with what you're saying too, like it is like, I feel like the one thing that can keep me from sin is thinking about how it'll be afterwards, because you're so right. Like when you do have Jesus, it's just kind of like, you can't even enjoy whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I hope you're enjoying it right now, because as soon as anything is done, bro, like you are going to be depressed. Like it's just like everything. Cause it's just like, especially since I began like following Jesus on my own, it's like, God gives me warning signs and I ignore them a lot, but he gives them to me. I'm like, oh, dang, I can literally stop in the moment and be like, oh, you're telling me no right now. You're giving me a chance to stop right now. And I'm like, nah, I'm going to do it anyway. And I'm like, oh, there's another one. And like, sometimes I'll actually like try to trick myself to be like, oh, that's not God. That's just me. I'm just thinking through that. When I know it's like, no, like, why would I be feeling this conviction right now if it wasn't from God, if it wasn't from him? And you're so right, man. You're literally so right. I think I just got to thank God for really just being there and like keeping me accountable, because I think if you listen, like he will speak to you and tell you like what you should and shouldn't be doing. And it might not be in the way that you think he should, but like he will, he 100% will, you know, like again, like, I mean, we've talked through like my biggest struggle, like growing up was like pornography. And I remember there was like times where like I would literally be there and just be like, the Wi-Fi wouldn't be working. I'd be like, God, please help the Wi-Fi. And it's just kind of like, when I think about that now, I'm like, I was about to do like sin and I'm asking God to help me do that. Like, that's crazy. But then it's like, who turned off the Wi-Fi? It was working before, you know? It's like, that's like, that's somebody trying to help you. That who's trying to help you is Jesus, you know? Like, oh, you're trying to go, I don't know, pick up some drugs or something, but your car won't start. I wonder who didn't let that happen. Or like, you know, some emergency happens or something. Like, I think he's going to show up in ways that you don't think that he might. Or like somebody gives you a phone call when you're about to go, whatever, you know, like whatever it is, like, it's just kind of like, nah, someone is doing that. And if you have God in you, not only is he going to convict the mess out of you afterwards, but like he's going to try to show you like, hey man, like, that's not the way to do it. Like, you shouldn't be going through that way. That person's not it. Or even like, especially like with relationships. Like, I think the prayer that God answers quick as like nothing else is like, will you take this person out of my life if they're not meant to be? Like, I think God will literally like, bam, like, you know, like at least like for me, like in the past, bro, I'd be like, God, if you don't want me to be with this person, just let me know. They're gone like tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I think when he knows something is important, when he knows something is going to be so influential in the future, like I think he's going to show you that. And even if it's a small thing, I think if you're being genuine and you really want his help, you really want his support, and you really want his leadership, or not leadership, I guess guidance would be a better word. Like, I think he's going to show up, and I think he's going to make it very clear, like, hey, this is death. This is not good. This is going to kill you if you don't turn around like right now. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And he knows if you're ready for it or not. Because if you're not ready for it, like, he's like you're saying, he's going to make that abundantly clear. Like, I think, like, you know, I thought I was ready for this big change in my life, and then got caught red-handed in, you know, in a lie. And and it just showed that God was like, yo, like, it's not your time yet, because you're idolizing things. You've got all this stuff going on in your life, and you know, that's definitely still something that's super, super hard to swallow, but it's been like crazy, because it's just changed my perspective. It's like, you think something like that would happen in your life, you'd be like, no, like, God, this is like how it is. Like, I'm cool, I'm good on you. Yeah. But it's only made me be like, yo, like, I need you more now than ever. And to have that rather than what I thought I was gonna have, I say it. I know for a fact is better, because what he's offering is so much better than what anything else and anybody else can offer me.
It's a mature place to be.
Yeah.
It's a very mature place to be.
Yeah. So I'm trying, man. Trying.
No, honestly, that really is very commendable. And I used to think about all the people at church, like the old ladies and whatnot, who would like be a widow, who would lose their husbands, and like Sunday morning they're praising God. And I remember just like thinking they were so dumb, thinking like, how could you do that? Like, if God loved you, why would he take your husband? If God loved you, why would he take your child? And I just never understood how they could be closer when something so bad would happen or something so hard. And I think the older I get and the closer I get with God, I'm realizing that when you have your trust in him, you realize how, you know, like how oh man, sorry. It's like you realize like how big he is and how small that makes everything else. And like, I'm not trying to say at all that losing a husband or losing a wife or losing a child is something small. It is not. That is so painful and that is so heavy. But like, to be at the point where you can literally see God through those things, like the same way we read the story of like Job, and like for him to be able to be like, oh, I've lost everything, but God, I still trust you and I know you. And just to know that he has a bigger plan, or to even to be able to have the presence of mind to be like, this world is so short and there's so much more later on. Just to be in that headspace where it's like, you can take everything. You can take my job, my life, my family, my car, my home, everything. And I'm still going to be able to praise you. I'm still going to love you. I'm still going to whatever. Like, I'm not there yet, but like I'm working towards, and it's like I feel myself getting closer to that point where it's just kind of like, God, like I don't need any of this stuff, you know? Like if you take it away, I'm still gonna serve you. And I think once you're there, that's when you really start seeing God's blessings. But it's like right now, it's like, God, don't take my car, man. Don't take my house, bro. Come on. Like me and my fiance are chilling. Please don't take her from me. You know, like it's like having those fears, I think, is kind of like what holds us back from being able to really see the glory of God. Because I don't think God wants to take any of those things away, but I think sometimes we need it. Yeah. Like I think we genuinely, like it takes one of those times to be like, all right, maybe I needed that near death experience to realize that this life isn't what I thought it was. Or like maybe I need that pain. I need to see like what my sin can cause or can affect in order to like be like, all right, no, God, maybe I need to like be following you more, or like whatever the situation might be. And it's scary to think that like, hey, if God's like, I love you enough to where if I need to give you a wake up call, I will. And like, you never know what that is, but it's just like, I've experienced it in my life. You've experienced it in your life, you know, and it's like now I'm just on the road to never experience it again. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, God, I heard you. You're there loud and clear, you know, like I'm going to do my best to make sure that I don't have to go through something like that again. And it sounds like kind of like that's what you're saying as well. Like, it's just like, yeah, like he'll hit you. And when he does, like, you're going to feel it. It's not going to be any light little whatever. Like, no, you're going to feel it. And he's going to show you that you need him, regardless if you think you do or not. Like one day everyone's going to bow, and I'd much rather bow now than, you know, like bow later. So, yeah. Dang.
Yeah, man, it's tough. And trying to just honor God in everything that you do, because you like, yeah, that's all. I think that's what you're saying. Is like, that's all that I'm trying to do every single day. And if it doesn't lead, and it's like, then the outcomes don't matter, because you know, and God knows. It's like, hey, like, I'm just trying to honor you, and I'm trying to glorify you, and it may not have worked out the way that I wanted to work out, but I can rest easy knowing that I glorified you and whatever it is that I was doing. Because I mean, still, I mean, I think about that sometimes, and not like in this crazy way, but I'm like, when I'm going through something hard, and the people are like, hey, like, this world is temporary, and just know you're not going to feel this way forever. But I'm like, yo, then I'm ready for this world to be over, like, right now. And then like, I don't say that, and like, I'm like, then I think, and I'm like, wait a second, like there's still some things I want to see through. You know? I'm still pretty young. I know you don't think so sometimes, but like, you know, I'm trying to have like a family. I'm trying to, you know, see what happens with my career, and you know, just some things that I want to see through. Like there's more memories and stuff like that I want to make, and you know, and I just want to try to honor God with all of those things. And so I don't know. Sometimes when I hear like the world is so temporary, and I'm just like, man, like life is just going by, and that's what's been killing me these past 2 weeks. Is like we're about to be in 2024. Like 2023 went by like that. And this life is just going by so fast. And it truly is temporary. But I feel like, you know, getting stuck in that comparison game, you know, you're seeing people moving on with their life, you know, relationships are changing, people are going off getting married, having babies, or, you know, and doing all these things. And I'm just like sitting here feeling like I took 4 steps back. And really, I know, like, you know, that I didn't really take 4 steps back, because where I'm at, my relationship with God is like 10 feet forward. And it may feel like that, or it may feel like it's 4 steps back just because of everything going on around me, but just between me and him, it's in a completely different place. And and I like the way that Lecrae kind of wraps it up, because it goes on from him like rejecting God to feeling like he's like in this place of rejection to like praising, where he's like, but Jesus, be my treasure, to know you is to live, and I'm here dying, trying everything there is, help me to turn away from sin. Like he's like, you know, like, I know you're the one, I know you're the way, the truth, and the life. Here's what it is, here's where I'm at, like, you know, let's do this thing.
Dang, that's good. That's really good. I have one question for you though. How has that affected just like how you said compare a little bit, but how has being in that spot with God affected like how you look at other people, in the sense of like comparison? So like and maybe this will help with the question. I know for me, like the closer I'm getting to God, the less I care about other people, like in the sense of like what they think, whatever. Because I think it used to be like I'm trying to please people sometimes too, but now it's like, oh, like me and God are good, like I'm chilling. So like how has that affected, like when the closer you've gotten with God over the last few years, how has that affected just how you view how other people are viewing you?
Well, people pleasing has always been a tough thing for me, and something that I value, and I want people to like me, and I don't ever want to offend nobody or anything like that. But I think kind of going back to where I felt like my guard has been up around community, or I think it's been giving me a place where I don't really care as much as what people think, but also it's given me, it's kind of, and I don't know if this is really specific to my relationship with God, but it makes me sometimes feel like disconnected with others in this like comparison. Cause you know, when I'm talking to somebody that's in a completely different season of life than I am, and I'm like, bro, you just don't get it. Like, I really don't know what to say here, but yeah, I just don't think you get it. I really appreciate you just, you know, loving on me here. But I don't think we're really getting anywhere. So, but then that kind of, I look kind of between at myself, and I'm like, for me to think that way about this person is not fair, because just because they haven't experienced something that I might be experiencing doesn't make them any less of a brother or any less able to provide any wisdom or care or whatever for me. So it's like, all right, just because we may be a little bit different and our circumstances might be different doesn't mean that that doesn't change like our relationship at the end of the day. I got you. That was a lot of words.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense for sure. I think that's a big struggle, at least like with Christians that I, especially in like college, knew. Like it was just this level of like, specifically people who grew up in the church. So people who, again, know the right things to say, the right places to be, the right way to lead someone to God. I think it was just really easy to do things because your parents want you to, or do things because you feel like that's the way that it needs to be done. And then once you get a real relationship with Jesus, you're just kind of this land or this mode of like, all right, but what was actually right and what was actually wrong? You start figuring out for yourself. And then once you get there, it's just like, do you care anymore? Like what people say? Like if I think listening to music that's not hymns is fine and someone says it's wrong, then like right now I'm just kind of like, okay, well, you're crazy, you know, like I'm going to do this anyway. But I think it's really hard for some people to be able to separate those two things because they've known so much that they thought was happening through Jesus, but really, you know, they didn't know Jesus, you know? So I just feel like it goes back and forth. But yeah, what you're saying though makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of
and I
sense.
think remembering too, like, you know, that's where that God's going to provide everything that you need. You can't go to that person or you're like in those relationships and those people that you're comparing to, and you might be like, yo, like this person's got it all together. They're doing this. They're faithful. They got a family. They got to be like, you know, their Christmas card looks amazing. And like dumb stuff like that. But you can't really like, they're just as broken and they're just as struggling maybe in different ways, but they need the same God that you need. And we're all just sitting here walking this tough life, breathing to death every single day. And, you know, like just remembering it's like, hey, that people aren't always going to have the right things to say, but the fact that they're there and they're listening and they're trying is love. You know?
Yeah, you're right. You're definitely right.
But yeah,
breathing.
That's all I got.
Help me, Lord, before there's no time left.
So good. So good.
It is really good.
That's the first Lecrae song. It's funny if people are like, oh, what's your podcast about? And I'm like, oh, I guess it's like Christian hip hop without getting too deep into the weeds about it. And they're like, oh, you got like a lot of like Lecrae and all this other stuff like on there. And I'm like, no, not really. There's like one or two Lecrae songs on there. Yeah. Maybe I'm just like whatever, like a hipster and not really trying to get into the mainstream. And always being like, nah, like check it out. Like it's not just that, but this song, man, it really hits different. And Lecrae was really, he was just super authentic and genuine, and it was good. I really like it. Even though it doesn't totally fit the vibe. Yeah,
no, I appreciate it too. I mean, because Lecrae is like he was a big part of my Christian walk, you know, so it's cool, you know, full circle talking about him on a little podcast. That's kind of lit. That's really, really cool. But yeah, no, I'm glad you chose it. I'm glad you chose it. Definitely heavy. Make sure y'all listen to it. Make sure y'all go through and listen to the song. With this song, this is my last question. Sorry, I know we just like wrapping up.
No, you're good.
Song, so let me see if I can find this specific lyric. Because I was thinking about this on the way here because I was listening to it like just so I had it, but then I couldn't figure it out. Leave me to rest. Minor evil. So it's really just the hook. So that's my favorite part of the whole song. Just like, help me, Lord, before there's no time. One, because of the music in the back. But help me, Lord, before there's no time left. I ain't living. I'm just breathing to death. Your ways are perfect, and they lead me to rest. Mine are evil, and they lead me to death. Lead me to rest. So the last episode we had afterwards, I think was very... I don't know what the word is, but opposite of traumatic. What was it? It was healing almost.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I think I felt a lot of like, like almost with what I feel like God's just kind of like, oh, like I will give you peace. I will give you whatever. So your ways are perfect and they lead me to rest. Mine are evil and they lead me to death. Like, I just want to speak on that. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Like, what do you mean? Or what do you think of like when God just talks about something like that, like leading me to rest, leading me to peace? Because peace is obviously different from everyone. And the Bible talks about peace in a bunch of different ways. But, you could think about it being like rest or peace in like the sense of like troubles in the world, kind of how we were talking about a little bit earlier. Or it could be kind of like, like heaven, you know what I mean? Like, just like, what are your thoughts on when people say things like that, or like when we see things like that in songs?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's probably going back to the faith over feelings idea. And I think even in this case where I've been talking about why I even chose this song and just the amount of disruption that I have felt in the past couple of weeks. And I know there's, people, you can call it spiritual warfare, you can call it like, just believing a lot of lies or whatever it might be, like God, Jesus' ways are perfect and they lead me to rest. But I know my ways and my way of dealing with disruption and my ways of dealing with emotions are going to lead me to death. Like I know that for a fact. Mm-hmm. And just, I think what's, there's a Maverick City worship song. I think it's called like Firm Foundation. Mm-hmm. It's like I've got joy in the chaos and I've got peace that makes no sense. Mm-hmm. And like if you felt that before, it really doesn't make any sense. You're like, everything is going wrong, but I'm like cool with it. Yeah. And it doesn't. And I know when I say that, some people like you'd be like, what? Like that makes no sense. Like it absolutely does not. Mm-hmm. And the only reason why it does make sense is because God has been sovereign over whatever it is that you're going through. So there's all this chaos that's going on in my life right now, just mentally and emotionally, not like literally. I mean, for the most part, I think on the outside looking in, everything is, fine. Work's going well and all that other stuff. But mentally and emotionally, it's just chaotic. And, but I know I know that, that God is walking along with me and I'm cool with feeling this way. Like, not all the time, but it's like, all right, like this is what this is for now. And I've been through this before and God's brought me out to the other side and I've tasted, the fruits of the Spirit that we were kind of talking about in the last episode. So I think that's where that, your ways are perfect and they lead me to rest. It's like, this is chaotic, but I know your ways are perfect and I know where it's going to lead me to. So I'm gonna just chill on that and I'm cool with this. So God, just do your thing and let's get through this together.
It's a good answer. It's really good answer.
No, it's a good question. There's that engineer brain coming from you and all these intellectual questions. You got me.
That's that barbershop.
And just so y'all people know, this man does not prompt me before with any of these questions. I have no warnings or nothing or anything.
And you answer them perfectly every time.
Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Holy Spirit.
There's no script. That's funny.
No.
Keep you on your toes.
I just keep things to, just trying to keep them through. And that's what's so cool about this is like we're here, we're at the house, we're just talking about what's going on throughout our week and the weekly life. And we're in different seasons of our lives and God is teaching us different things. And it's, it's fun to walk through and he's healing us in different areas that we need to be working towards. And it's like what's that theme that we always come back to? We got different circumstances, but the same God is working.
Yeah. No matter what we're going through, it's always Jesus the answer.
Yeah.
And that's the truth.
All right. Should I pray? You got anything else?
No, I was going to say if you got anything else.
No, sir.
Cool.
All right. I can pray us out. We'll be done. Dear Lord, just thank you for today and just pray for everybody that's just going through tough time and that just feels like they're breathing to death and just feel like they're suffocating or falling into sin. God, I just pray that they just can believe and we can believe and just come to trust in your word and just come to you and just knowing that you still love us and that you're sovereign over everything that we're going through, and that we can be real with you, and that we can just bring our emotions and our feelings to you, and just know that you're bigger than all of those things and all of our doubts, and that you will help carry us through that. We love you, God, and we praise you and ask all that in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.